welcome to All In. I am Pamela Horton, self-proclaimed Hyrule historian, here to talk to you about the game series that started it all for me. Nintendo's Zelda franchise is currently fresh on everyone's mind due to the hype around the recently released Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. It's essentially a prequel set 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, giving us just enough to hold us over until we get some more tasty morsels in regards to Breath of the Wild 2. Since there's a lot of waiting either way, I'm going to try to talk your heads off as much as I possibly can about the Legend of Zelda franchise. I'm sure you can all distinctly remember your very first Zelda game. For me, it's one of my clearest early memories. I was 4 years old when I had my first go at the Super Nintendo. Rescuing Princess Zelda at the beginning of A Link to the Past was the first of many times I'd play a Zelda game with my dad and my brother. I was completely hooked. It sounds a bit like an exaggeration, but I'm fairly certain my creativity, my imagination, and my affinity for the fantastical is all rooted in A Link to the Past. Over the course of my life, I'd follow the franchise through its variations in storytelling and gameplay. Link is always a familiar element to the games, but it was Nintendo's willingness to experiment with development that made the games so unique. If you look back at each game, no two are alike. Even Majora's Mask, which was a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time, felt like a completely different game despite having the exact same game engine. Instead of a day and night cycle, time was an active component to the game. If you didn't finish your quest by the end of the third day, you were in trouble. From transforming into a wolf in Twilight Princess, to navigating the skies on a Loftwing and Skyward Sword, the player is constantly challenged with new playstyles, and I am here for it. Another notorious aspect to the franchise is its music. In its humble beginnings, composer Koji Kondo put together all 5 tracks of songs and sound effects for The Legend of Zelda on the NES. These 8-bit tunes would be the foundation for a collection of timeless compositions played throughout the Legend of Zelda series. People who've never even touched the game can recognize the soundbite for acquiring an item or opening a chest. But then again, people who've never even touched the game know that Zelda is the one in green. I'm pretty sure that Link was a meme before memes existed, thanks to the parents and grandparents of gamers. Music has an amazing effect on our brains. The moment that you hear a familiar song, it takes you back to those first moments of exploration and adventure. The first time that I heard the 25th anniversary special orchestra CD, I was moved to tears because I'd close my eyes when listening to the Great Fairies theme and I'd picture myself walking down the aisle. For years, I'd picture it, just the moment of me getting married was always synonymous with The Legend of Zelda. And now, next year, I get to make that fantasy come true. My years and years of being a Zelda fan get to culminate in the happiest moments of my life. And my heart is so full, and I can't believe that this is finally gonna happen. Even if you've never touched a Zelda game in your life, your gaming experiences have been influenced by it. The Legend of Zelda on the NES was the first title to give you the option to save your adventure and continue later. Up until that point, you had to hope you didn't die, or beat the level, or beat the game. Almost any game I can play right now that isn't online gives you the option to save. Although not true to the sandbox genre as it stands right now, the NES title was the first to give you non-linear gameplay. The option to explore the map as you saw fit until finally entering a dungeon. This playstyle made for a relaxed adventure until you did finally decide to enter that dungeon. Dark Link even set the tone for battling against your evil self in all of gaming. Influences everywhere, I tell you. Homages to the Zelda franchise exist everywhere in popular culture, not just in gaming. From the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World movie using almost every soundbite in A Link to the Past, to Rick holding up the limited edition A Link Between Worlds 3DS XL and Rick and Morty, you can see nods to our favorite Hylian hero. Even the great Robin Williams named his daughter Zelda after the titular princess. And by a show of hands, how many of you have a Triforce tattoo? It's hard to believe that The Legend of Zelda is 35 years old in November of next year. That's crazy. 35 years of amazing boss fights, music that has moved my soul, and attention to detail that still to this day fuels my imagination. I hope this episode has managed to remind you of how gaming has influenced you. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and pursue what you're passionate about. Because if The Legend of Zelda has taught us anything, it's that anyone can save the world. Okay, love you, bye.